Thank you, everybody, for joining us. As you can see, we're going to be touching on a very sensitive subject, and we mean no disrespect to this family or any other family. As a matter of fact, my guest, she can tell her story of why this is important that we talk about this issue with heat related our students, our children succumbing to heat related illnesses from either sports or school activities when they could be totally preventable. And what you can do wherever you're at in the United States to ensure that the students in your city, in your state, in your local school district have what they need to remain safe during extreme heat incidences or cold. It's not just about when it's too hot. This can also happen if it becomes too cold and the right conditions don't exist for safety. Absolutely. So I'm going to have my guest announce who she is. As y'all can see, Wise Society, you're on the Wise Society Live. If you're watching this, let us know where you're joining from. But yeah, we want to have a real discussion about why heat safety measures, uniform ones that are adopted or by policy or law would be better, state law would be better, amending ed code are necessary, absolutely necessary to protect our children from heat and cold. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm Janae, and my name is You Funny 113, and unfortunately, back in 2023, August 29th, I got the call, as this student's mother did, that my son went down after or during physical activity at school, and unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries from heat stroke, as well as he did have a heart anomaly that I was unaware of. We were unaware of. But yeah, he passed. He succumbed to his injuries, and it's disheartening because, when do we ever have to start looking at how hot it is outside? I mean, I know, why society. I know you played and outside and drank water out of the water hose, and it used to be really hot when we were young, but at that day it was in the 102. Actually, if you go back and Google it, it was 102 the day my son had passed away, around the time he passed or succumbed to his injuries. And I know too well what can happen even in extreme weather conditions for a short period of time, because he wasn't even outside that long. But it's not only how hot it is outside; it's the time. It's the time that you are in extreme weather conditions, as well as rigorous activities, such as this student was at a football practice, probably in full gear, and performing for the coaches or the teachers or whomever.
And I want you guys to understand what my guest is saying about her son succumbing to extreme heat. He was only 12 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. At school, adults there being supposed to be responsible for him. And it wasn't as though it couldn't have been prevented, just like this one that you see on the back of the screen, because excessive heat warnings went out all week prior to my guest 12-year-old son succumbing to heat that day. I saw for the past week excessive heat warnings going out about all of the places in the nation that could expect extreme heat, extreme weather conditions, including warnings about tsunamis, right?
Yeah.
We saw all of the warnings, whether it was about the tsunamis or extreme heat. And I want y'all to press that like so we can get some other parents up in here, because this is a real talk that we're having with parents who are the holders of the rights of their children's education and have the power today to change this around wherever you're at. Share this with somebody.
Yeah, share.
Share it. I'm gonna set a goal for Roses so we can get this out there. But I'm gonna talk to you all about how to exercise your power,
Absolutely.
because we didn't just leave it that my guest, her son succumbed to heat at 12 years old at school, being taken to physical education class outdoors over 90 degrees. She told you it was 102 degrees if you look at the National Weather Service report for that day and the time that the students were taken outside. And no parent, and this is why I take this very seriously, no parent ever wants to get the news after sending their child to school or sending their child to a school activity, um, that child is not coming home to them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely. And I'll
right,
tell you, even looking at some of the articles that have been floating around, ABC had an article come out on the 28th, and it talks about how extreme heat is in the forecast across the United States this week, and health department across the country are warning people to take steps to survive potentially unaliving weather. And then also some of the data that backs this up is extreme heat is the unaliving most weather related hazard in the US, claiming roughly 2,000 people annually. That's the CDC and prevention department of the CDC data. And it says that experts note the official heat related unaliving toll may be unaccounted due to heat sometimes not being considered as a factor in someone's unaliving. So unfortunately, this student here was dropped off at football practice. This is here in Tennessee. Well, not here, but I'm here in California, but in Tennessee. And mom got the call, and I can just only imagine what the mom is feeling. I remember when I got the call. As a mother, you feel it. You feel something. It's unbearable, and just to know that he went to ICU and was in ICU for 3 weeks, fighting for his life, and he succumbed to his injuries. And I really thought it was important for us, Wise Society, that we get out here, because I went into a dark place and I wanted to give up. And as an advocate as we are, I wanted to help in some way, because not only did Joshua Henderson succumb to his injuries, but we have Landon Payton in Dallas. I think it was Dallas, Texas. He also succumbed to his injuries during school activity, and his weather was 85 degrees. And then looking at, I know there was some data from, is it the TSSA was given like some background knowledge on how they're going to approach the health measures to protect students. It said that their threshold is 104.
right. So I want y'all to
How does that
know,
work? Yeah, how does that work?
I want y'all to understand, parents, families, community members, hit that like button so we can get this out. We're not just talking about what happened to the young man in Tennessee. We're talking about what are the protections for
Yeah,
children who are attending school age children across this nation, um, for heat related activities. And we're actually talking about extreme weather conditions, because guess what? When the tsunami warning went out, that means there had to be protocols in place to keep the children safe at school. Every
yeah,
one school doesn't cancel for a snow day, a
right.
flood day, right? Some
Yeah.
schools are still open and requiring students to be dropped off. And some, places can't be prolonging their closure. just because of weather conditions. So you need to understand what the rules are in your area. But what we're saying is that across the US, there are no standard or uniform guidelines that demand school age children be kept safe during extreme weather conditions while at school activities, or sports. So while TSSAA over in Tennessee or CIA here in California, which we're going to talk about the way we changed that here, had guidance about when and when not to, have students performing activities or athletic events types of things. It wasn't enough to protect the life of my guest's 12-year-old son. That guidance wasn't enough to protect Joshua Henderson, right? And all of the other children that have been outdoors, physical activities during extreme weather events. Okay? So now we have to use our voices to say, as the parents of school-age children, we've had enough. We need to make sure that every single person working with our student understand what it looks like for them to have heat illness. That plan needs to be in policy and law in place. What do you do? What's the escalation protocols for keeping them safe, or calling 911, getting them to emergency medical treatment as soon as you see a sign of them succumbing to heat or cold, right? Extreme weather conditions. And currently, as it stands, there's guidance, but they're not standardized or state level rules. Now, what you will find in each state, and if you look this up while I'm talking, you'll be able to see it, is that your state has an education code. So it doesn't matter which state you pick across the US, you are going to find an education code that regulates education in that state. Every single part of that education code has to be carried out and abided by or followed by every single educational institute serving children in K to 12. The framework at the U.S. Department of Education is more about when people violate certain parts of civil rights acts, okay, and special education rules. That's when the U.S. Department of Education, as you can see, gets involved when it comes to whether or not they're going to give out those supplemental grants or funding or not. But what we're talking about is very doable in every state that you're in and you're listening to this from. So, as you can see, the need to know right here, I don't want to read off of the need to know in the background, because I don't want the live to get shut down for saying particular words. But what you do see under the need to know is that all of this was preventable. I want you to think about it like that. Like, instead of it having these facts, what if it just said he succumbed and it was preventable? Then we begin to question ourselves, well, how can we prevent it? Well, I'm glad you asked, right? I'm glad you asked, because it requires parents to say, we demand that our schools in this state, in this local district, in this community, in this county, whatever your focus needs to be, has a uniform standard practice that is implemented by law, enforced by law, protecting K to 12 students from extreme weather events. Go ahead, I'm going to let you chime in here. Can you hear me? You funny 113.
Was on mute. I'm sorry. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if you were talking. If you were on mute.
Oh, yes. I was on mute. One takeaway. I do want to say this before I even go further. We do want to send our deepest condolences to the family.
Absolutely.
Keep reiterating that. I know I didn't want to hear it, but
You're on mute again.
can you hear me now?
Yep. As you can see, the young man sitting right here with his mom looks like. I mean, this is
Yeah,
just sad.
it is so sad. It said he bravely fought for his life and organ failure. That's something you can't come back from. And just to know my own story and to go through the processes of, I came to Wise Society and said, what can we do? Because I never wanted another child being in education for so many years. I never wanted another child to suffer or parents to suffer. And it's very important that we take care of the fatherless, the orphans, the widows, the ones that can't speak up for themselves. And no, it doesn't bring my son back. No, it doesn't bring his life back. It doesn't. It doesn't give justice. It doesn't give anything back to me that will ever fill the void in my heart or even my family's heart and soul and everything in me. But I can say it will help. And I came to Wise Society and I said, what can we do? And she said, okay, we're gonna get something together and put together something that will make. Isn't that crazy? We have to make people say, maybe what we've been doing all this time doesn't work. And it took this. And it takes tragedies like this for people to even listen. Because how many times have we knocked on doors, or even before my son came to his injuries, how many times, Wise Society, did we knock on doors and ask for help and beg to support students? How many times?
I mean, we can't even count anymore. Like this work of protecting our children and bringing awareness to other people of what absolutely is necessary for their safety is one where we can't even count how many conversations, how many times we went to legislators, how many times we talked to local organizations, how many times we tried to teach other parents the necessary things to equip them to have these conversations. Like, this is what has been a chain of ongoing events for, I would say, my lifetime and yours as an educator, because people in the legislator, I want to frame it like this: don't wait until it happens to your child to
Right,
think it's important.
right, right,
Okay.
right, right,
And
right,
then just know that the legislator might be waiting until something devastating happens that's brought before them to even consider the issue.
right.
It's not like they're out, in the trenches, in the grassroots, in our homes, in our conversations, understanding what our gripes are. No, we got to bring them to them.
Right.
Now, some of them are more astute at being able to, you know share with the experiences of parenting and the things that parents go through when they have their children in schools, because they have school age children and they're going through it themselves. But at the same time, it's not about how they feel, it's about what their public role is and what we voted them in for. So with that being said, our stop after my guest's child succumbed to extreme heat at school, my first thing was go talk to the state legislator. So I went and talked to the California legislators, and this happened in California. So you guys can look it up. You can look up what we're talking about, so you can see that the model exists, because California was the first state to pass a law of its kind, but it doesn't mean that it has to stop there. We encourage you to have your state pass a law to protect students in K to 12 from extreme weather exposure.
Yeah.
we encourage you to take it and go do it. And so it's called Yahshua's Law, Senate Bill 1248. It was introduced in March of 2024 by a senator with the last name Hurtado. Okay, with that information, you will be able to find it. I went to talk to legislators. I showed them the science, the medical research, which exists. I mean, there's so much medical research about this issue, about changes in weather and heat index, about body cooling and heating, and how children quickly succumb to weather injury, right? Just exposure. Um, but making the educational realm pay attention to it was another task. And so that had to be done through the state legislator. So then we went to the state legislator. We came up with the law. So then we went to the state legislator. We came up with the law, an amendment to the already existing education code. Senator Hurtado introduced that legislation to protect students from extreme weather exposure by requiring that the California Department of Education not only develop guidelines for school districts to implement during weather patterns that are harmful to student health, but they also have to make sure that every single school district has a board policy and a safety plan for how they're going to deal with these types of situations. Every single person has to be trained and equipped on what to do. No excuses, right? And there shouldn't be any. And if you find that when you go and ask about, heat policy or law, and people have excuses or say we're still working on it, then they're not keeping your they're not taking your children's lives very seriously. Right. And really it's a responsibility. So I want to talk to you guys about this idea being a legal one. First of all, we shouldn't have to create laws to say protect children, but we live in a society where we do. Obviously, right? There is what we call the legal maxim or legal principle in loco parentis, which is supposed to be the notion that caregivers of children are going to automatically treat those children as if they are their own when they're in their care. So let me repeat that. In loco parentis, obviously a Latin legal term, is a legal maxim or principle that says when caretakers of children have other people's children in their care, they're going to treat that child or those children as if they are their very own. Okay? Would you, and maybe some of you would, I don't know, maybe you should probably do some medical research about how it's safe or not safe to have your children out doing physical activities at 106 or 102 or 94 or 96 degrees. And what that does to not only their bodies, but their organs, their brain. We know of children that are brain damaged from being compelled into physical activity during excessive heat days. They can never get their full brain function back. Okay? This young man, my guest's son, they did not have to pay with their lives, however they did. I don't want people waiting until you say, well, I never heard of this being such a thing. There's plenty of information out there for you to be able to know that it is an issue, right? On top of that, I want to say this in this moment, and I don't mean no disrespect to the family of this young man that lost his life over there in Tennessee. But if you're leaving your children in cars, stop doing that.
Right.
It's not safe. Okay. If you never learned the sense or common sense that you shouldn't leave a child in a car for an extended period of time, not even for a short amount of time, because you really don't know how quick or how fast a child can succumb to heat. I'm here to tell you, don't leave them in the car at all, because he related. Um, I'm trying not to say the word, right? Children succumbing to heat left in cars is a disgusting number too. Totally preventable.
Right.
Every time I see one of these articles or news features about a child that was left in a car succumbing to the heat, I'm wondering what in the world is going on.
Right.
Are you for real right now? Like, let's just have a real talk as us with other parents. I appreciate you, Michelle. Thank you. Um, you know, Talking about what's right and what's not right. It just boils down to that.
Right.
It doesn't have to be super complex,
Right.
but the society that we live in make it super complex. So here in California, with my guest, you funny 113, and you can go to her page to find out information about her son's story. When that happened, we had to go to the state legislator and make sure that a law was in place. And with that, there wasn't a law in place. And as a matter of fact, the legislator was surprised. And one of the legislators said, I was in the military. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the military, there were protocols in place. You did not go out over 80 degrees. Now you're talking about military boot camp training for combat. We're talking about school age children who are minor children under the age of 18.
Right. Right.
It don't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they got to be protected. And the protection is going to come from the parents up. Because while there may be a lot of well-meaning people or not in the education system, a lot of things don't move until we make a demand.
Right. Right. I mean, even if you look at Megan's Law, right? Megan's Law, Amber's Law, Seth's Law, all these laws came about because of a tragedy. And it took parents to bring it to the forefront to say this is a problem. And just to look at the statistics of just in 2025 alone, 150 people have succumbed to heat illness injuries. And I
Trying
can't
to figure
believe.
out how to go to that particular um, slide so I can show people
Oh
where to
yeah,
find that information at. But
yeah.
look, I'm not, I usually
Right, no worries. No worries. I just want to make sure, I'm glad that you're pointing out that you want to show, because we don't want to just say numbers just to say it, and my story be so compelling emotionally that it moves someone. We want to give you facts, and we want to make sure that we're being clear with our message that,
who who
Joshua.
can tell me how to find it? Anybody that's in the chat right now, how do I find the effects button so that I can switch? And I'm sorry to interrupt for this,
Oh yeah, no
but
worries.
if you can tell me, okay, Michelle, you need to talk to me after the live. Okay, I got you. If you can tell me how to find the button, but if not, we just gonna keep on moving on anyway. But what I would like to do is switch the article so that you guys are able to see exactly what it is that we're talking about. Um, when she's reading the stats out, because I think that having the evidence is good. Showing people where to find information is better. But if I can't find it, we'll just go ahead and continue to talk. Because right now we're on the young man's GoFundMe page, and I don't really know how to get back to my main thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. But I also want to point out that we want to go ahead and point you in the direction of Joshua Henderson's. I'm going to put his name in the chat. GoFundMe page. I don't even know how to go to another page and and copy paste. I don't want to miss out, but I'm just going to put his name in. And if you Google his name, GoFundMe page, it'll come up, so that we are pointing you all in the right direction, so that we can help this family in this planning of his homegoing service and anything that the family needs. Because I remember not wanting to get out of the bed. And I remember, even having to go see a counselor through my health benefits that was a copay. And I don't want these parents to be discouraged because finances are an issue. So let's make sure that we're going to Joshua Henderson's GoFundMe page, and any amount will help. I'll tell you, just the fact that you're moved to help in a way, no donation is too small, no donation is too large, and whatever your heart is telling you to do, please donate, and also share his story, post it on your social media, so that this family can get as much publicity as they can, that they can get the financial support, because it's going to be a long haul. It's coming up on 2 years for myself and my family, and I'll tell you, it's like yesterday. I see his face every single day, every night. Just reading over reports and smells, songs, anniversary dates coming up, birthdays, Christmases. It's going to be a long haul for this Henderson family, and to know that he was such a lovable, gentle giant. He has siblings. So we just want to make sure that we're doing our part as a community to, make sure we're sharing this information, so that this could be you. This could be you. And also that, if you are in the Tennessee area, you want to speak up and speak out. Remember, as parents, we hold the bag. If you pay
Absolutely.
taxes, you are holding the bag for the school district, and you want to make sure that you're holding people accountable. What are I know you said why society, you're going to go into the how. I do want to point out that the easiest way, not only is parent engagement, dropping your child off at the drop off point, or getting them up in the morning. We need a little bit more parent and community engagement when it comes to the accountability from our school districts. We want to make sure that we're at these board meetings to make sure that what is being said is really happening, because they're, according to this one article, it says that TSSA, which I'm not sure what it stands for. Do you remember what it stood for?
Yes, I'll tell you what TSSAA stands for. It's basically the Tennessee Sport Association,
Right.
kind of like
That from this one article. And you all can Google Joshua Henderson's name. You can look up the story. You can get some of this information that we're talking about as we're trying to put it on the screen. But the TSSA,
it's the Tennessee Secondary School Athletic Association, but it's a voluntary nonprofit. So what I am saying is that parents need to talk to the state legislators,
absolutely,
right? Like,
absolutely,
understand that these associations are oftentimes voluntary, oftentimes charity types of work, oftentimes don't have the legal or political right, even
right,
as
right.
parents do, to advocate for their children. And only a way we can advocate for our school age children by saying we need to ensure there are safety protocols in place enforceable ones. We don't want just, you know, things that are written on paper as good mission sounding statements,
Right.
right? That are
And accountability.
non-enforceable. Yeah,
And
we want
accountability. How are we going to
accountability.
measure that this you know protocol or set of guidelines, safety guidelines are effective? Because I mean, TSSAA did have a heat safety guideline, and I'm looking at it, and there's about one, two, three, four, five. There are five bullet points that it's noted, and it says that one of them is ensures cold immersion tubes are available when WGT exceeds 82 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure that somebody was checking that on that day that he passed away. I'm
You
not
know,
sure
but
that
it's
was.
interesting if they weren't checking it, because I saw the national map and where the hotspots were going to be at, and all across the national map, which you guys can check the National Weather Service every single day so that you can know when the hottest part of the day is going to be, right? This is not a secret. It's just a lot of times we have to know how to navigate the information. Okay. And if the hottest part of the day is during your children's outdoor activities, there's some
Right.
changes that need to be made.
Yeah, and that's really, as parents, I really want to convey also, wise, that as a parent, I don't know why we're scared. You used to tell me all the time, he gets one body. And that
Yep.
really stuck with me, that your child gets one body. And if you go get immunizations to make sure that they go to school, you're going to get school clothes to make sure they look fresh to death, and you're doing all these things, but you won't go to a board meeting, or you won't go rally with another parent or advocate with another parent in a IEP meeting or a 504 meeting or even an expulsion hearing. I
Yeah,
mean,
we got
it's
to
just,
stick together. We got
yeah,
to.
we got to, because I know right now I'm so excited about the GoFundMe is raising funds for this family, because they're gonna need it. I've never known an issue so close and dear to me than your finances being in check, but when a tragedy happens, you don't even want to get up and go to work, and this family's gonna need it. And
Right.
I don't even know. I have no words. Like, reading this, it broke my heart. It broke my heart. And I thought about even Landon Payton. The news will talk about the issue while it's hot. But what's going to happen when that dirt is pat down and that headstone is put? What's going to happen next? So I really I would love to. I don't even know what to do, because see, I'm here in California, wise. I don't even know what to do for Tennessee. I need some Tennessee folks to tap in on, what kind of influences that they have, that we can come together and take this framework from SB Senate Bill 1248, also known as Yeshua's Law, down to make it federal, because there's so many students. We had one in Alabama, the little girl.
In Texas, we had it in Texas.
Yes,
And so
Texas.
let me just read what the bill does,
Okay.
because I think it's important for people to understand what we're asking for ought to actually just be something that's happening already, but it's not. And I
Right.
don't want you to assume that, these things are in place wherever you're at, because I searched every single state to look for a model law or framework, and finding that there wasn't any when Yahshua died or passed away from excessive heat that day, because I don't want to get the live shut down.
Right. Right. We got to be careful.
Finding nothing, we had to create it. And so here is what the bill requires, and this went into effect um, last year, but it will be fully implemented where every single school district has to abide by this law in January 2026. So the bill would require the Department of, and they're talking about the State Department of Education, okay, on or before January 1, 2026, in consultation with relevant stakeholders and experts. One of the things that we made sure of was that it wasn't just going to be the same people having the discussion as always, but we needed to make sure that the right experts that were at the table, doctors, scientists, people that understand weather conditions, people that understand geological conditions, people that understand heat and weather conditions. And, you know, whereas teachers learn multi subjects, that's not the one that they're expert in.
Right.
Weather is not what their expertise is. Okay, of course, you know, my guest here had to become an expert in weather and extreme heat or cold conditions because she lost her child due to that, right? And I did because was fighting for the laws about it. So the bill requires that these experts, and including yourself as the credible authority about your child, you are the expert for your child. Don't assume that just because someone else says they're an expert about children, that they're the expert of your child.
Right.
I want to make that clear. You're the most credible authority when it comes to what is needed for your children, your child, and the children living in the community, right? Oftentimes I've gone into these meetings and I'm speaking not just for my children, not just for my school age children, but I'm telling them I rep our community's children because the other parents might be at work. The other parents might be, we're not going to wait to put measures in place for you to say, oh, well, we need this many parents. No, you got me today. We're doing this, right? And so the bill will require the department on or before January 1, 2026, and in consultation with relevant stakeholders and experts to compile and post on the department's internet website standardized guidelines. So the state created a law that amended the education code in California, making standardized guidelines, and the Department of Education is responsible for carrying that out. That's their role. Specifying temperature thresholds, index ratings that trigger modifications to pupil physical activities during extreme weather conditions, and would require those standardized guidelines to consider relevant factors, including but not limited to pupils' ages, and I'm reading directly off the law. Pupils' ages, harmful duration of exposure to extreme weather conditions. How many of you can go to the principal tomorrow and ask them, okay, you guys want to go out for recess in PE during these days and these times, but I see that it's going to be hot. What's the harmful duration of exposure to extreme weather conditions?
Right.
And they will be able to answer that.
Right.
Overall pupil safety and available mitigation measures. Ask your student's teacher, what's your extreme weather mitigation measures? Let's see what they say. And I'm not saying this to be facetious or cynical about it. What I'm saying is that this has happened so many times now where we don't need to wait for it to happen to another child. We know what is necessary. We know that protections need to be in place. We know that those protections have to be codified, meaning they have to be in law. Can't just be like, this is what we want, we hope for this year, right? So I was reading that directly from the law. The bill would authorize the department, in consultation with relevant experts and stakeholders, to use existing resources or frameworks or both, okay, about temperature thresholds or index ratings that trigger modifications to pupil physical activities during extreme weather conditions to meet the requirement that the state legislature has put in place. The bill would also require that school districts, county offices of education, and charter schools develop, adopt, and implement weather protocols for extreme weather conditions, and would require the weather protocols to incorporate the standardized guidelines compiled by the department and to detail the specific measures to be taken during extreme weather conditions as specified. That way, we don't have the first graders outside the third graders with a whole different plan of action on an extreme weather day, and then the high schoolers, running laps, right? So it standardized, meaning when there is a rule in place at that district, everybody needs to abide by it. Nobody has an excuse about why they're not obeying the weather protocols for the students, the safety measures that are going to be put in place. Okay. So, it also requires that specific measures be taken during extreme weather conditions as specified, and that weather protocols are annually reviewed and evaluated, and if necessary, updated to incorporate best practices and address any emerging concerns or challenges. Talking floods, tsunamis, excessive heat. We're talking even if you have fire conditions that fire, if you don't know, just in case you don't know, but we know all too well because we live out here in wildfire territory, California, right? So if you didn't know, wildfires create their own weather pattern.
Right.
If you go and talk to your child's physical education teacher, the next time you have the opportunity to, and you ask them about their mitigation measurements, if you ask them about the index requirements, if you ask them about the standardized guidelines, weather protocols that they've incorporated, what do you think that they will say? Treat it as though this is life-saving, because it is, right? If I have a child that has a condition such as diabetes, I'm going to want everybody working with my child to have an understanding of the safety protocols and measures to take if my child's blood sugar is too high or too low.
Yeah.
That's a given. If you're working with my child, you need to understand what if they have an allergy, where they need to carry an EpiPen, what they can or cannot eat, what
And
they
then
can or can't be exposed to,
if I
right?
can interject right there, let's just be clear. We also don't know our kids have ailments. Let's call that out. We don't often know that our
Absolutely.
children have ailments or challenges or defects or whatever you want to categorize it as, but we don't even know. We
That's
don't
true.
know. So then we're sending our kids to school thinking that everything is a-okay. We fed them, they had a good night's sleep, any quote unquote good parent, right? They go to bed on time. They had 8 hours. They take a shower, they're clean, they brush their teeth, they've combed their hair, they've pressed their clothes. They have a lunch, a snack, or water. But let's just be honest, there are some things that are undetectable until, they succumb to that particular thing that affects their livelihood.
Absolutely. Because, but see, that's the expectation. Like I started out, when I started working in education, I worked with early childhood education. We didn't know what to expect, but we knew to expect 2-year-olds.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So we had to accept them as they were, as they came to us.
Right. Right.
Because at 2 years old, you don't get a lot of, unless there's a severe situation, children that have a formal diagnosis of anything.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So, as working in public education, we knew that it was our duty, our obligation to be able to say these conditions may or may not exist, but we need to consider them in everything that we do.
Absolutely.
So even though, there were no, children that necessarily had peanut allergies, we didn't get children peanuts or
Right.
peanut butter because they're two. We don't know if they have it or if it has been went undetected or other things like that. So what I'm saying is that all the children need to be safe and protected from extreme weather conditions. And
Yeah.
extreme heat is one of them. If you live in a place that floods or tornadoes or lightning, anything is possible now. I
Right.
mean, I'm just saying, don't wait until it happens to your child to have a discussion with your legislator, your state legislator. And yeah, I do agree that this needs to be a federal, declaration, even.
Right.
It's just saying, like, all children need to be kept safe during extreme weather events. How hard is that?
Right. I mean,
It doesn't, yeah.
even if you look at, I don't want to rattle any feathers, but even the case with the boy and the twins down in Texas, and one twin ended up succumbing.
Unalived.
Yeah, unalived. Even in that circumstance, it was pouring down rain that day. Why were they at a track meet?
I don't know.
Like that, it makes me sick to my stomach to think that, that's more important than human life.
Well, because they'll try to use our children's bodies up as for athletic and performances and different things like that, and they're not really necessarily concerned about their quality of life in the end and when they're well into adulthood. So don't allow your child's body either to be used up for these sports activities, because at the end of the day it's going to be you and them, like it was at their birth, dealing with the situation. And if you lose them or they succumb to their injuries,
Yeah.
then it's no turning back. These things are preventable.
Yeah, they are.
These things are preventable. And then, so the best thing that you can do, knowing that your child is attending in the care of other adults, is just make sure that there are protocols and stuff in place. I mean, that's what we're saying.
Now, when should they do that?
ASAP. The school starts when? I don't know if everyone's students are in school or not, because it varies depending on where you're at. Some children started this week, some children start next week. You should be checking on this ASAP. First business day of tomorrow. You want to know, what are the safety measures? What are the protocols? And if everyone who works with the children in the school district that you're asking the question to know about it. And then if you want to look up whoever your state legislator is for your area, you want to ask them, have you guys considered that this is what parents want to have in the education code at the state level, right?
Yeah. Now, Michelle in the comments. Hey, Michelle, thank you so much for joining. And thank you for those that are joining. We're here. I'm here with Wise Society, and we're bringing light to another student has succumbed to injuries due to extreme heat measures from heat stroke. And I just want to point out that Michelle says hers starts tomorrow. So, I mean, I would even put this in the script that you would say to a teacher, because everybody should know. Everybody should know what the safety plan is for the school in everything. So that would be a part of the safety plan, no matter if it's hot or if it's cold, it's raining. Like, we're on a tsunami watch. So what's the protocol? What is the protocol? If I'm on a tsunami watch, Wise, what would be a protocol? Like, I'm not sure if we're still at watch advisory. I haven't been checking because my anxiety, girl, I can't even take
Not
it.
even only that, but Newsom declared a state of emergency because Northern California flooding is devastating Northern
Absolutely.
California.
Santa Cruz. I saw that last night.
Right?
Oh my
And I
God.
mean, at any time, a wildfire could break out.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Right.
us in Southern California, we're not immune to wildfires. We just know that they exist and we have to watch our backs when they happen.
Right. Right.
We have
Right.
to know where the evacuation zone is, for example, right? Understanding local conditions. I want to say that. First, the first step would be understand your local conditions, right? You see this heat map up on the screen. You can tell what state you in based on the map.
Right. Right.
Understand your local conditions. Understand the science is what I mean, right? The
Mm-hmm.
weather pattern, what's being predicted, what harm or injury could come from that prediction. Don't wait for it to happen to you or your neighbor to be able to say, oh, wow, this was real.
Right.
And we're not out here fear mongering. We're just saying be prepared,
Right.
right? So
Right.
understand the local conditions, take the local conditions. And when people are saying, you need to be kept safe, or you need to, seek safety, and you don't understand how that's supposed to happen, that's what you take to the legislator,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you guys are saying that there's dangerous heat and humidity, but we don't even have outside covered areas to stand in so that people that are catching buses or, parks aren't covered or whatever it may need to be, whether it's those things that misters or sufficient water sources, right? So
Right.
how exactly do you expect for the citizenry to maintain safety? And this does have to do with public safety and public health and welfare.
Yeah.
So you can talk to a legislator any day of the week about local conditions. When it comes to your child, that's going to take an extra step because children require extra protection
Mm-hmm.
due to their vulnerability, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what they need to understand, and be able to articulate are what are the safety measures? Can you see them in writing? Is there a heat plan? Is there an extreme weather plan at all? What is the safety plan? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys going to do in all conditions? Because we didn't just stop at excessive heat. We wanted to make sure that there was a plan for all conditions that could arise. Like I said, whether it's a thunderstorm, a lightning storm, you know, flood, a tsunami, an earthquake, a excessive heat day, an excessive chill, because we have those too,
Yeah. Yeah.
dangerously low levels,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
What are they gonna do?
it,
So,
exactly. And I like how Chucky says he takes a bottle of water with him and a Gatorade.
oh, okay.
Nowadays, you got to keep a case in the car, but there's had been studies that we not supposed to keep water in the car, and it's like it's a catch-22. I'd rather be safe with the water than not have it in the car. And then even a step further, you want to each one teach one. You take a water with you, have an extra to give it out to our homeless population because of those numbers for this year, 2025, 150 have succumbed to heat illness injuries. How many of them were homeless? Like,
Well,
how many?
you see right here it says during the previous 2 years, more than 4,800 heat related U.S. passings were
Mhm.
recorded. Since 2020, there have been at least 9,436 heat related passings, unalivings across the nation. Okay.
Yeah.
The stats show that the number of heat related unalivings increased from 1,156 in the year 2000 to in 20 to 2,415 in 2023, before
Wow.
slightly declining to 2,394 last year. That's still a lot because guess what? Every single one of them are preventable.
Right.
I do have to say this, and I'm sorry I'm not able to look at the chat because I don't want to lose the ability to go through the photos.
No
And
worries. I got you. I'm watching the chat.
what I do want to say is this: even waking up and taking water or Gatorade with you, while yes, that's one step, but a lot of times the conditions that exist, this heat and humidity being so dangerous, you would have had to be hydrated a day or two before.
Yes, yes. If you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
This young man, it says it in his thing that his organs were shutting down.
Yep, that's heat stroke. Heat stroke. Heat stroke.
Damage to his liver and his kidneys, clots and fluid, right?
He suffered.
No calls, no texts, no explanations at all. We don't send our children to school one way and expect for them not to come home. We expect for them to come back better than the way that we sent them, because they should have been more educated, more knowledgeable,
Right.
not even worse, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be up to us parents who are the legal rights holders of our children's education, not only to bring awareness about this issue, but to be the advocates that say we have to have laws in place to protect our children from extreme weather events and conditions. We cannot lose another child at a practice or a physical education activity or at recess or even in a hot car right?
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to come on here and just talk about, and paying, respects to this family. If someone shares this with you, we'll be more than glad to support you in making sure that the state of Tennessee has a law in place, and more than willing to help you with your advocacy. I know that that will be the least of things that you're concerned about right now, because of the life that was lost is invaluable. You can't put a valuation
Right.
on the life of a child or a person,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
I felt,
so we
I
just
felt that.
send
I
our
felt that. I
Mhm.
felt that way as well. But like you're saying, like we're here to help. So Henderson family, if somebody can hook us up with the Henderson family, we would love to support in a way that we can connect you with some people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for anyone else that wants to see the model law that exists, to take to your state legislator and say this is doable, or if you know your congressional legislator, even, because we need for this to be happening all across the US, right?
Right.
This is a
Absolutely.
parent led movement.
Chucky
Our
said
children.
Chucky said he'll be glad to help, and Chucky has been a long supporter of mine, and I just this grief will have you in a chokehold. I'm gonna be honest, and
Absolutely.
another reason why
Absolutely.
we're here, because the grief will set in, and there's different stages of grief, and the way that I was able to cope was, of course, seeking help when I couldn't help myself, but really trying to help others. You may struggle your way through, but you're going to serve your way out. And so I feel that, my service is going to be so powerful. And I've been with Wise Society for, man, many, many years, serving alongside her and watching her, how she has fought effortlessly for others. And when it was my turn, because you will have a turn, you will get a turn. It will be, the fiery darts will come. And just to be able to have her in my life to support us and get this bill out there to into law, so that Yeshua's name doesn't fade away. And no, it doesn't bring him back. And to the Henderson family, no, this will not bring Joshua back, but it will give a sense of hope, because reading about your son Joshua, his name is very similar to my Joshua, same name actually, and I just know, I just know that it's hurting. It's hurting, and you need something. You will need something. I'm
So
telling
as you can see right here, if you in Memphis, reach out to one of us. We're willing to help with, you know, it whatever we can. Even some things are more than just the financial, right? Like I gotta say that
you. Yeah.
it's more than the financial part of it, right? Because at this point, you can see that the aunt of Joshua Henderson said that the 16-year-old who was unalived from organ failure caused by severe heat stroke said that her family is furious over this. So when you are in this furious state of mind, you're seeking justice and answers. And we had to, unfortunately, as you funny 113 expressed, go through this before because of the tragic unaliving of her 12-year-old son Joshua, who was also very close and dear to my heart and my family, right?
We have Michelle's is in South Carolina, and then we have
Memphis is the Witchy Babe. Memphis is 3 hours from me, right? So this happened in Memphis, and we're saying that enough of this, right? We don't need to turn on our phones, and we're not even looking for this stuff. It just we see it,
right.
and then find out like another child is unalived for something that's totally preventable. So I'm asking my fellow parents to rise up. We hold the rights over our children's educations. People can't dictate how they're going to treat our children. They receive funding, okay, that the taxpayers pay. And part of that is for safety because public safety is fundable.
Right, right, right,
School safety is fundable. There's a line item for that,
right.
okay? And if the safety protocols are outdated, part of antiquity, then it's time for us to together rise up and say, these are the things that need to happen in this time, in this era, in this moment, and with the needs that we see rising. Because outside of this, what about the children unaliving their self rate, bullying, and all of that? There's so many things that can be addressed that weren't happening 10 or 15 years ago that it's going to require us as the parents of school age children to say, this is what we demand in this time. Everybody else out here making their demands for files and different things that they want. We need to be saying, this is what we, the parents of school age children, demand in this time, in this era. And we demand that the representatives that are claiming that that's who they are represent us. And I'm speaking directly to anyone that is a policymaker, that is a legislator, right? I served 4 years as a school board member, so I know how it happens.
Right.
If that's you, let's have a conversation about how you can be the change to put in policy or legislation with regards to this. I have the model, I have the framework, right? I have the research. And I'm more than willing to work with your legislative team, your policy team, or advisors to show where this is legally sound and vetted and able to be implemented and enforced. And yes, it does come with the cost. So let me go ahead and answer that right away, because that was one of the first questions that we evaluated when putting this into law, meaning me and the legislators. How much is it going to cost the state, and are they going to be willing to do it? Absolutely, because if they don't do it, then children will continue to lose their lives.
Right.
So what's the other option, right? So yes, It comes with infrastructure upgrades because we know that there are schools that don't have appropriate cooling and heating mechanisms. Water, where children are able to get water that doesn't trickle out slowly to where they're putting their mouths around the fountains to try to suck it out.
Right.
Somebody be real with me because this is what we talking about.
Or covering. There's, covering all these trees that have been in some of these schools since the beginning of their opening, and they've rotted and they've pulled them out. And I've seen at one site, they pulled out 40 trees, and now if the protocol is at a certain temperature, you go on the grass, and then at a certain temperature, you go in the shade. Well, if there's no shade available, then we skip that totally and go inside. I mean, but let's just call a spade a spade. Aren't there state standards for each content area? I know here in California, there's PE standards, and running is not always one of the standards that you should be running to. There's so many different standards, and even a national physical education standards. I mean, running is not one of them. Let's just be honest. It's the easiest. It's easy when you have large amount of students. It's easy. But running should not be your first go-to, especially when you have inclement weather, either way, hot or cold.
If you guys could push the like button as you're coming in or either listening to this conversation, it would help us to push this out. We need for every single parent of school-age children to understand what's happening here, especially since school is started and we have this dangerous heat and humidity happening across the nation.
So, Wise, Chucky said, let me go back. He said that, that they should put water outside. Well,
Absolutely.
There are water fountains, but like you said, sometimes they don't work. And how efficient is the water system to handle if three classes in one grade level is at recess, and then 3 classes of one grade level is at PE, for example, and we'll say 30 in each class, right? That's 6 classes times 30. That's what, 180 kids?
Yeah.
For one water fountain? Do you think that's to be efficient or sufficient for that amount of kids? No.
Yes,
so
look at someone saying that last year in their child's classroom, the air conditioner was out, and boy did I go crazy. Absolutely, right?
Right.
Okay, let me even bring it to this level for you guys, to some of you parents that have children of special needs. Certain medications,
yes,
your child's not supposed to be in prolonged sun or heat under certain medications.
Yep, say that. Was it 84?
It just depends, right? Because this humidity factor makes a difference. Right. This is why local conditions do matter, but the safety plan needs to be standardized, that there will be one in place. Implementable, enforceable, accountable, right? Let me say it like this too. Some of you with children that have epilepsy, conditions that may be triggered by excessive heat or extreme weather, right? I get in my summer bills an insert from Edison about how heat changes mood and mental stability.
Absolutely.
This is real, right? You see it happening because out here, I don't know about y'all, I live in the desert of California, a desert called Palm Springs, where last year our hottest day was 124.
Right.
Okay. So I understand that in the morning when we wake up, it's liable to be over 100 already. At night, even though there's no sun out to add to the sun exposure, it's still hot. Because during the hours of the early morning, 6 a.m., it's still 106 degrees. It's just no pause on the heat. So when people go outside and then you have the sun exposure added to that, I have seen on the some of the first hottest days of the year a lot of car accidents, a lot of, our emergency medical teams out on the streets more than you'll do any other time of year. And the majority of the things that they are, working on are those heat related things that are totally preventable.
Now let's also point out blacktop.
Mm.
There was I didn't note the bill that was introduced the same day on April 3rd of 2024 when Yahshua's bill was being introduced. It was introduced right before his was, but the senator was introducing a bill that would all the asphalt on the campuses be turned into grassy areas because the asphalt is so many degrees, and she had all this great data to prove that the asphalt is about 20 degrees hotter than the actual weather conditions. So if it's 80 degrees, because everybody keeps saying, oh, 104 is hot, it's hot. Well, if you're saying you're outside at 84 degrees and the asphalt carries up to 20 degrees hotter degree measures, then you're talking already 100 degrees. So then even that actual number is going to go into question because from Joshua Henderson's story, the TSSAA had stated their threshold was 104. Now I'm hoping they were on grass because if you consider asphalt, that would be 148 degrees or 28 degrees, right?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
That's too hot.
Too hot. Too hot.
I
Way
mean,
too
a
hot.
lot of people can't even imagine being where I live, where it's 120 in the 120s, right?
Right, right,
You're like,
right.
how do you do that? And
Well,
so,
well, you see what in our comments that witchy baby said that they're telling people where she is not to go outside unless you absolutely have to. So I
your
mean,
blood
like,
pressure went up when it was too hot. Chuck, Witchy Baby is my daughter. I believe that's my daughter. She said she was trying to show support. I accidentally kicked her out.
oh,
Because I don't, y'all know I don't be up in these live chats. Look,
right, right, right.
but
I'm so
I'm,
done, and she can't even come back. I'm done.
I don't even know how to bring her back.
You
Look,
know, good night. I'm done. I'm so hey Amp, we're so glad you joined.
I'm sorry about that.
But that's another thing, blood pressure. There's so many things that get affected by weather change. It's unimaginable about how many different things come about because of weather changes. I just really want to enforce your right as a parent, and even a community person. Like if you pay taxes, you can go to a school board meeting and sit in and see where the monies are being spent and ask
Mhm.
questions.
Yeah, you're
At
paying
the
for it.
least, yeah, at the
Okay,
least.
that Witchy Babe, you up? You're unmuted. I don't know if you were trying to say something. I'm looking at your video, you funny 113 that you put on your page.
Yeah,
But, so yeah, I just we wanted to just come over here and see that Witchy Babe. You need to change that name because I can't be calling out that Witchy Babe. I have epilepsy and heart condition, so I have to be careful in this heat. Um, my daughter is basically probably this, she's going to say the same. And this is what I'm talking about. With
right.
children, you don't often know. We don't
Mhm.
know. And a lot of times they're not going to receive a formal diagnosis until they're well into adulthood. Now, does that happen in every situation? No. There are some, doctors that are willing to diagnose children early on and get them the early treatment that they need in the medical plan and all the interventions that they need. But I also know a lot of doctors that don't like doing that
Right, right,
because they know that some things can change during puberty and development. So it would have to be something that's profound, right? But what can you do to keep yourself safe? Well, having a conversation with your legislator or in your school district doesn't require you to spend any money or go find a crowd of people to back you. You need to understand what the local conditions are. That's it. And the safety plan. What's the safety plan? What's going to happen under extreme weather events and conditions? What are you guys going to do with the children? Who's going to be responsible for carrying that out? If there isn't anything in place, how can we, work together to create a safety plan? Let's look at best practices across the state and the nation. Ask a couple of, the school medical professionals, because the school does have medical professionals. Seek the help of the science community, right? All of these things can be done with your time instead of you having to spend your financial resources. So there really isn't an excuse about why we don't have things in place. And I'm not saying it's our fault that we don't have them in place, but if we continue to see that the legislators aren't automatically putting things in place and we don't do anything about it, then it will be our fault if children continue to succumb to heat related stuff. And it's totally preventable.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm just calling we the people into action, or whatever you want to call yourself, the person, the individual, the estate, whatever it is. And I'm not trying to be funny about that, because children don't have the ability to dictate where they're being taken to. If your child is in elementary school and the teacher says, let's go outside, guess what?
You going outside.
You going outside.
Mm-hmm.
Middle school, high school. And maybe what we should do is create an advocacy strategy for children to be able to say, no, it's too hot.
I think, I was gonna say, having this conversation has sparked so much in me that I want to do something, because at the least, like now, I want to go and make sure that all parents, get their babies checked, their hearts checked, because that's something that you don't check. You don't check certain things. The doctor said the baby's okay, good, but you don't check their lungs, and if there's not a pre-existing issue of premature births, right? That you don't do certain things based on, oh, I had a baby full term, or I adopted a child, healthy child. On paperwork it says the child is healthy, but there are certain things that you just don't check for. And then as a parent, you go to back to school night, you're just going to see what's going on, see your child's work on the wall. If you don't really have any questions, if your child is not, always in the dean's office or the principal's office, you don't have that many questions, or your teacher is saying, oh, your child is such a great student, a scholar, but then you're not asking the questions of, okay, what's the evacuation plan on a earthquake drill? And those aren't things that you're asking until things like Yeshua's situation and Megan's situation and Seth's situation. And then you have the development of Seth's law, Megan's law, Yeshua's law. But at the least, as parents, we need to come together. So I think, Wise, you're so right when you say we need to come up with an advocacy plan for our kids to be able to speak up and speak out for themselves in a manner that's being accepted. Let's also say that.
Right, because children, they're just going to do a lot of times what they're told and what the group is doing, right? Like,
Right.
I don't expect a second grader, unless they have been taught to be very, very bold, and go against the grain, right?
Right.
To
Right.
not follow along with what the teacher and the peers are doing. Even if it's 100 degrees outside, even if it's over 80, if it's 90 something degrees outside, right?
Yeah.
And they know that they're thirsty because their mouth is sticking together. But if the teacher says it's not time to get water right now, we got a
Right.
water break for that. Is
Right.
that child gonna be willing to go against the grain and go get water anyway? Well, we might have to tell children to go get water anyway. I know when my children were in elementary school and they wanted to take bathroom breaks but were denied, I told them to go anyway. Let the principal and the teacher contact me about you walking out of class to take a bathroom break. And then I will have them talk to my medical health team about why that is not okay in a developing body and how bladders are different sizes. Okay. So, all of these things are just relevant to the safety and the well-being of our children who should be thriving and not unaliving.
Hmm. And let's bring to light also, it's not just in school like PE class or football practice. It's graduation. It's like there's no reason we should be outside in bleachers and you can't bring an umbrella because you're obstructing the view of others, but it's 104 degrees. Like, are you kidding me? And no water is being provided unless they're selling it. Like, let's just be honest. This is a public institution that receives funds, like you said, from a safety, that's a line item for the local control accountability plan. And we're outside at a graduation. I mean, it's that deep. And I think that parents don't realize how deep it is when we talk about school activities. It's not just at PE class, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It could be field trips. It could be sports activities. It could be
Yes.
outdoors recess. It could be, you know, um,
Lining up
lining
those
up,
lines, right?
lining up. Like, if you could think about how fast that you don't really know how quickly a child's body could succumb to extreme weather.
Right. And look at Joshua. Joshua was a big boy,
Yeah.
you know, and he's athletic
He
and
was athletic, right?
yeah, he's athletic and I mean he played high school football. And look what happened
Right.
versus my son, little guy. So you never know.
Right.
Athletic little guy. But you never know. You never know. But I'm ready for it. I'm ready. I'm excited and I'm glad that you all have joined again. We're here. We're discussing the story about Joshua Henderson, who succumbed to his injuries that he received early in July during football practice in Memphis, right? Memphis, Tennessee.
Yep. Memphis.
And he succumbed to his injuries, I believe, July 28th. And there's been a GoFundMe put up for his family, the Henderson family, and make sure you guys go check it out if you can. Just Google his name. Just Google his name. I'll put it in the chat. I'll try to put his go.
Right. So you can see several major media outlets. This particular one comes from localmemphis.com. Right. I like to look at what the local people are saying because a lot of times their voices don't get heard. I don't know why I keep going back to the green screen. Don't get heard above the major media platforms. And yes, we're all sending our condolences to Joshua's family for their loss. And we're saying we don't want any other children to be lost because they're outdoors during dangerous heat and humidity. It's totally preventable, y'all. It says the heat waves are becoming even more dangerous as overnight temperatures are too high to relieve people from the heat. Prolonging heat stress and the associated heat risks. Extreme levels of heat stress have more than doubled over the past 40 years. A trend that is expected to continue. So let's really make sure that all of the children across this nation will be safe in schools and school related activities, public parks, right? That the city parks, national parks, whatever it may be, that there are safety plans and protocols in place, water accessible, coverings, whatever may need to happen. But we can't wait for bodies to pile up around this issue to make some noise.
Right, right. If they're not going to make any noise, we need to make the noise. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to put this information in the chat, but it's limiting my characters in the chat. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So I'm just going to go through the pictures
Okay.
again so people can see what they need to know about what happened to Joshua Henderson.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Chucky. I put thank Tot, Chucky, but thank you, Chucky, for always just being a longtime supporter of mine and sending uplifting messages to me. You don't know how much they've helped me along this 2-year journey that I've been on so far. So I appreciate your support. Really do.
It doesn't have to be overwhelming. We already created a law here in California. We can help you understand how to do this.
Right.
That one's too small, so I'm going to leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay? And like I said before, don't leave your child in a car, not for minutes, not for seconds, when, you know, those situations are preventable. Take your child with you.
Absolutely.
Anybody that's caring for your child, daycares, caretakers, they need to understand where you what your value and your beliefs are and how important it is for them to protect your children's lives, because as you saw, the last heat related unaliving was a 3-year-old boy who was in the care of an
Wow.
Alabama contracted child services worker.
Yeah,
People
that's
that should know better. Okay. In the car for longer than 5 hours. But there's, situations where people have left their children, in cars for shorter amounts of time, and unfortunately, they succumb to their heat related injuries.
yeah.
Do not leave your children in the car under any circumstances. It's just not safe.
Right.
All right. And so I think we could probably, wrap this live up. We'll come back and continue to get the word out about what's happening with heat related. I'm just going through the articles again so you can see the information is there. The GoFundMe information is right here. The news is telling you to brace yourself for extreme heat, but we also need to brace our children
Right.
and,
Right.
and make sure that everyone that is going to be responsible for caring for them, whether it's in an educational environment, family environment, a child care provider environment, understands and can tell you how they're going to keep them safe. They only get one body and one life. With that being said, you funny, you got the last word. And if Witchy Babe want to say something before that, then go ahead and unmute and say something. But if not, it's fine. Thank you for your support. We'll be back to talk about this again and again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I first want to say thank you so much for, always being a supporter of mine and fighting in the trenches for all the children in California and just nationwide, actually. And your efforts are just, man, like you go hard, Wise. I'm gonna just say that you go hard, and people don't realize. For those that are watching, go ahead and go to Wise's page, share, like, I don't know what you're supposed to do, give a rose. I'm not sure, but if you guys can give, credit where credit is due. She worked hard for us, and you don't even know it. Some of the laws and policies that you see and that you're enjoying now, if you're here in California and even other states, It's all her work. They just won't say it. They being, people in the sky, yeah. Um,
The
you know,
aliens.
but yeah, exactly, right? But I just really want to say thank you for your hard work, and Yeshua's law would have never come to fruition without the hard work that you put in. And I want to say thank you, man, thank you. And then to the Henderson family, I don't even want to say I know too well how it feels, because I don't know how you feel at this moment, but I have been in your shoes, and I've had to have sleepless nights, and even today I have sleepless nights, and I think about my son often, and I don't even know sometimes what to do on a daily basis, but know that it will get better. It will not go away, but it will get better. And you do have people here in your community that are here to help. For those that are watching, please, look into the GoFundMe, share his story, Joshua Henderson. Let's not stop saying his name, even when the headstone is put on that ground. Let's continue to say his name, like you. I want you to continue to say my son, Yeshua Robinson. Continue to say his name. Let their legacies just live on. And thank you. And for those that have come on the live, thank you so much for saying your kind words and joining and sending roses and stuff like that, and just share. And just let's stand as a community, to stand together, support one another at the least. The community to stand together, support one another at the least, support one another.
All right, and with that being said, we'll see you again next time out in with them. School, athletic practices, child cares, school trips, other, public related activities, even at church. Church is going on a trip. We've seen how that can happen with that last flood. We expect that our children are going to come back better from things that, school and events, than not at all or worse. So we have to be the ones to demand that there's everyone else in this political sphere is making their demands, that the parents' voices don't get lost in that communication, and that we be respected as the credible authority over our children, and when we're speaking, that it be taken seriously. So we will see you next time. Until then, be well. We hope that you and your children thrive. And share this. You can share this out if people miss the live. Peace and blessings, everyone.